Where better to start a story about Tasmanian cheese than here at Adventure Bay on Bruny Island? This beautiful setting was discovered by Abel Tasman in 1642 and later became an important source of provisions for the early navigators, including BLIGH, Cook and Furneaux. The reason I've come here today is entirely different. I've come to visit a friend of mine who makes cheese in a small artisan dairy. Bruny Island is 50 minutes drive and a short ferry ride southeast of Hobart. Its wild, windswept beaches and magnificent natural coastline has changed little since English navigator Tobias Furneaux first named the bay after his ship adventure in 1773. For my journey round Tassie, I've enlisted the help of my friend Tetsuya Wakuda, well known as an ambassador of the local produce. So when did you last go to Bruny?
About a year ago. Beautiful place.
Yeah. And I haven't been back there since he built the dairy. So it's probably 3 or 4 years. So I'd be really interested to see, what he's done, because it used to be a tiny little house.
Yeah. Still there.
Yeah. Tets and I had arranged to visit cheesemaker Nick Haddo, an old friend who I hadn't seen since he and his young family first moved to the island with plans to build a small dairy. Hi, this is Lewis.
How do you know?
When I last came, this is Lewis. This goat was picked up by Nick when it was very little, and it was going to be shot. When he first opened this place, he brought the goat down here, and it used to guard the vegetable patch. And it's named Lewis after the guy who was going to shoot it. Bruny Island Dairy now produces a large selection of cheeses using both cow and goat's milk sourced from the main island. But I was here to try a very special trial cheese made from raw cow's milk. Fantastic smell, Nick.
Thank you, thank you. So this is, we've got 2 big rooms where we keep a lot of the hard cheese. This room's mostly the C2, but there's a few other little bits and pieces.
What is the C2?
It stands for cooked curd. It's shorthand for cooked curd, and it's a cheese which has got a long maturation. It's got a high cooking step. It's got a lot of flavour.
And most importantly, Tets, it's the first move in recent times towards raw milk cheese in Australia.
So it's taken ages, and Will started the battle, and I just came in for the glory at the end, and we've
I know that story,
So we've recently been allowed to make what is the first raw milk cheese in Australia for quite some time.
Since 96.
And it's very exciting. All of the cows are kept outdoors throughout the year. They're all grass-fed throughout the year, whereas... And also the climatic variation in Australia is not as great as in Europe.
It's party time in your mouth.
Sweet.
It's just an explosion of flavour.
And really, it's the depth of flavour. I mean...
It's hard to talk because you're salivating so much, isn't it?
Gee, this is very nice, delicious.
I think we should carry this one outside and sacrifice it.
Cut it. That's nice. Okay.
Nick is obsessed with promoting the natural produce found on Bruny. And to accompany the cheeses selected for lunch, he suggested Tets and I go down to the beach and collect some local oysters to cook in the wood-fired oven. These are native oysters?
Yeah, they're the Angazis. Yeah.
That's my favourite.
And they grow all around the place here.
And is that what you farm over here? Or?
No, we do Pacifics on this lease here. So Pacific oysters originally from Japan, but
that's where you come in, Tets.
when you're buying Tasmanian oysters, you're buying. They generally call Tasmanian, Pacific. It's a Pacific oyster. So.
Actually, Pacific actually come from Japan. Originally.
Yeah.
I love that.
These are smaller than your Angazis, so that's generally a sort of a plate-size oyster.
You'll go, Tets. Japanese oyster.
Comparison? Need to know.
Tasmanian Pacific. This is beautiful and clean taste.
Yeah.
You know, of course, the oysters are iodine, which is just something oysters about it, but it's totally different again with the angazi. I love angazi. So angazi is more like texture.
Yeah.
This is also a little creaminess too.
Yeah. So these are
They're
just
delicious.
so like we were talking about seasons before. This is just on the other side of our spawning sort of time. So you know we've got they're just starting to get that firmness back
Isn't
into
it
them,
delicious?
and they're a bit more meaty. And winter oysters I find are the best oysters.
Yeah, that's the time. And a little bit sweet.
Sweet, yeah.
There's a sweet aftertaste.
Not so
as well.
salty as even the same come from the sea, but actually not salty as angazi. This is.
And that iodine that you talk about,
Iodine,
that
yeah,
really
iodine.
comes out.
Also good after a few nights on the beers.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I believe you.
Yeah, we were just simply cooked.
Hey,
Here he is.
Sitting up. Spot. Okay.
It's all happening. You smell that. When you first cut a cheese, it's the moment, it's just the glorious moment. It's this moment in the limelight.
Yeah.
And it doesn't last long. You've got about a minute, it's gone.
Yeah. Everyone says, why do you live in somewhere like Bruny Island? Why wouldn't you? Being able to walk 100 metres to a beach that you share with about 3 other families, and being able to wade out on that beach and get a feed of mussels or oysters or flathead, or go diving for abalone, and just the completely beautiful
So the
natural aspect of it is stunning.
And what other cheeses have we got on here? Because we've seen those in the.
Do you know Owen? You know, of course, you know Owen.
Yeah. So that's wrapped in.
Vine leaf, washed in Pinot Noir, Tasmanian Pinot. The leaves great because wrapping it in leaves creates this beautiful sort of micro environment around the outside of the cheese, which allows it to really develop.
And what's this one here?
It's a cheese called Gabriel. A little bit of a nod to Muscovella as well.
Ah, not there too.
Yeah, we're not known for our subtlety.
So do the authorities look after you here?
We've done the raw milk seed too in partnership with them as best as we can. So, yeah,
So the future's looking good.
future's looking a lot like this.
What can you ask for? Well, here's to you. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
After our day on beautiful Bruny, our next scheduled stop was the Huon Valley, where we planned to visit a tiny producer of cider using some of the old-fashioned apple varieties first planted by the early settlers. Look at how beautiful it is. Extraordinary.
Some lucky people there floating in the water. Nice.
Tasmania is known as the Apple Isle, and the Huon Valley is now home to most of the island's apple orchards. The valley is also home to Tetsu's latest project. A new boat is commissioned using the legendary Huon pine.
We were talking about using celery top for the deck. We'll keep it all Tasmanian, all Tasmanian timbers. This boat's all Tasmanian timbers except for the teak deck, which teak deck is a very traditional use, but you know, we have to outsource that from Sydney, and I think to keep everything Tasmanian would be great. Be all Huon pine hull with celery top keel.
But can you do oil finish?
Yeah, we can oil it.
Oil,
Yeah.
I think
A
I
marine
prefer
grade
oil
oil.
finish, yes.
Yeah, which is a
I
satin
don't
finish.
like varnish.
Yeah.
Inside oil finish is nicer.
And the Huon is such a beautiful timber that it doesn't matter how we finish it, it still looks amazing.
By the time we had finally arrived at the cider distillery, we wasted no time in getting down to business. I think you'll find, because the cider, Normandy cider tends to be sparkling, you'll find that this goes pretty well with the cheese.
For me, actually, apple cider is more like this. This is more
Sparkling, yeah. That's more the...
There's not half as much still cider. I noticed in Britain this summer when I was over there, everybody's doing sparkling now. There's not so much still cider left, which was the traditional way of doing it.
The rough old cider. So, isn't that fantastic? That's great, Paul. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I hope next time we come back, there's a few cows grazing out there under the apple trees. You've got a cider press going. You've got the cheese all maturing away there. And we can sit down and look at that beautiful view that you have and enjoy a glass of cider and local cheese.
Well,
preferably a nice soft one, like a really good camembert. So thank you.
Well, OK. I'll do my best to
Cheers.
to do that.
Right, thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Good enough cider there, Tits?
Yeah, I think I ordered already.
Yeah,
More.
that's great. Early next morning, Tets and I made our way through Hobart and onto the Central Highlands region, where serious drought had turned the paddocks to a dusty green. Our destination was a landmark Tasmanian farm located just outside the town of Bothwell, in an area where Scottish pioneers first settled in the 1920s. Many of the farms in Tasmania are still run by descendants of the early settlers. This farm in the Central Highlands goes back 7 generations, and the family were one of the first to produce ewe's milk in Tasmania. And despite the drought, they're still doing it today. Thorpe Farm is owned by the Bignell family, and they've been making cheese from goats, cows and ewe's milk since the early 1980s. As luck would have it, Tets and I arrived just in time to see the ewes being rounded up for milking.
They're all mixtures, but they're not pure of anything. The pure East Friesian's been bred in Europe and lives in the houses of the Dutchmen, I think, and that's not very tough in Australia.
They can't cope with the Australian conditions.
No, or Australians, I don't think.
Yeah.
I've got thousands of them, but I only milk the best of them.
About a couple of hundred.
Yeah.
How long is the season?
It'll go through till Easter. They'll milk for 6 months. There you go, look, stick it on there, she said. That's it, there you got them. Look at that. Whoa. Oh, there's a cheese made already.
Yeah. Well done.
Oh, dear.
Oh, Teds, I'm impressed.
Look at that. That's not bad for a first time.
Very good. You've got the hang of it. Right, John.
Right, yeah.
Now we've done that.
We better
Got any
finish.
cheese?
Yep, we can do
I'd love
that.
to see some of your cheese.
Right, yeah, we're going to do that. I better finish these, then we'll
Yeah,
go
fair
on.
enough. Yeah.
I'll get angry otherwise.
Thanks, John.
John Bignell has pioneered many new Tasmanian cheeses, and today he was keen to hear what we thought of a ewe's milk blue cheese, cheekily called Rogue Thorpe.
Just sweet. I don't like salty. I try not to make them too runny or they don't last if they're drier and crumbly.
And balance, not over salty. That's nice. You need that saltiness, isn't it? The brew.
Yeah, well, the salt is what controls the blue. So salt's part of blue cheese, because if you don't have salt, you can't control the blue. So it's all part of the whole here. I think that leatherwood honey and Central Highlands ewe's milk blue has got to be a wonderful regional combination. Really good. Well, that's great. Really, really nice combination.
Delicious.
Good, thank you very much. That's encouraging, right?
You'll keep making some?
May the drought break. May the drought break. That's all I
Yes,
can
exactly.
say. You know, I'd love to see this place and it was all green. And
you,
I expect
Tess.
when we come back in 10 years,
10 years? Anyway.
it'll be green. These guys will be working away.
managing directors.
Giant dairy working away there. And you two will be probably sunning yourselves in France somewhere.
Let's hope so.
That's right, yes.
One of my favourite dairies in Tasmania is located in the northwest of the island, near the small township of Deloraine. This fertile region has a long history of dairy farming, and in 1986 it became home to a young family from Bavaria in the southeast of Germany. The family dream was to establish a self-sufficient biodynamic farm, using milk from a small but very well-loved herd of Jersey cows. Since then, they've developed a great reputation for their range of delicious cheeses, butters, yogurts and other dairy products. One of the most sought after is a cultured butter made in a traditional old wooden churn just a few times a year.
It's a taste. They have not just a cream. That's a taste to. A little bit like not yogurt, but kind of.
It has that culture. Yeah,
that's
correct.
Culture, yes,
Correct. Yes.
But rich, but different kind of. I don't know how to explain.
Buttermilk is made using cultured cream, and Joe makes his own cultures on the farm, the old-fashioned way, something that's very rare in Australia these days.
So let's close it.
And now we make butter.
And it's already a little bit of a ceremony now to close the butter for churn.
You're right.
And then the last thing is the screw.
You do that so well. I love it.
Oh, I've done it many times too, I tell you.
It takes about 45 minutes churning to turn the cultured cream into butter. Just enough time to visit the dairy's underground maturation rooms. What a way to travel down to the cellar. Very extraordinary. I don't think I've seen anything like it. Now, most people have stairs.
Yeah, of course, most people upstairs, but there you go.
Okay.
Definitely.
Well, just watch out the step here.
Look at this. What have we got here?
Well, a traditional underground cheese cellar.
These walls are extraordinary, and this window at the back here. Just explain the theory of it for us.
The philosophy behind all the thing is to stay as natural as possible. We don't want to do the same cheese as a factory 200 kilometers further down the track somewhere. It's the cheese tastes like this region. The cellar has to be made from the rock which is found here on the farm. You keep it as natural as possible. There's no artificial air conditioning, there's no artificial refrigeration whatsoever in there. We work a little bit with the variations of temperature, but in the average we always have about 14 degrees or so here. Because when you look at on the floor, we have special tiles made by an old Italian brick maker here in Tasmania, in Railton. Yeah. And he made those tiles for us. They aren't hard burnt, they're only softly burnt, so they draw moisture. And underneath there is no concrete. We dug the cellar until we hit the bedrock, and in some corners, in the corner there, we actually had to chisel it away a bit because we didn't get right down there. And it gives the whole thing the cheese, and it just gives it that taste. It just brings me back to my memories, when we were 21, 22, I really started to get interested in cheese making. I've seen all the small cheese factories disappearing in Germany. So I went around, that's where we bought the butter churn, for example, the equipment there. Went around, we talked to all cheesemakers, and they were just too happy to tell us everything. And then he told me he made really washed rind, smeared Romadur. Köstlich, absolutely fantastic. The smell in the factory, there was water already laid, so because it had moisture. And then he told me one of his apprentices opened the window too much, and the cheese dried out, and he got light cracks in it, and almost cracked his heart, because his little baby cheeses in there got a bit too dry, So it's just that's how you regulate it.
Well, you see in England, they used to have in the cheddar and the Stilton factories and maturing rooms, they always used to have these ventilated blinds which they could open up one way or open up another way.
Yep.
And it's all been replaced now by modern machinery, humidifiers, all this energy-hungry equipment.
Correct. And you lose the taste. If you got that equipment, you can make it in Darwin, you can make it in Sydney, you can make it in Perth or in Tasmania. Same, It's a little bit like, I don't know if you got brand names here, but it's a little bit like a large chain of fast food that, we want originality.
Joe does not believe in compromise when it comes to making authentic regional cheeses that genuinely reflect their place of origin. And one of my favourites is the family's rare meadow cheese. If you close your eyes, you can just imagine those beautiful cows wandering through that spring meadow outside. That's the way I like it. The flavours of the wildflowers just filling my imagination.
The poet comes out. She's just eating a little bit of cheese and already comes out there. This is what it is.
Cheese is all about.
That is what it's all about. I think so, yes.
After our subterranean cheese tasting, it was time to get back to the butter.
Very light, very delicate. Doesn't leave the sort of waxy, sort of oily. I don't know. Maybe
that's
it's
cultured butter.
That's cultured butter. That's the culturing process which makes it. It's refreshing, not dragging, but it's refreshing.
The series doesn't film in your mouth.
Yep.
It's amazing.
It melts. Yep. And look how smooth it is.
In true Tasmanian hospitality, Joe's wife Antonia had baked some fresh wholemeal bread to go with our butter and put on a massive spread of the farm's produce for us to try, whilst Joe opened a very special 7-year-old cheese.
Warm rolls. Then this is made with your...
With our own wheat.
Yes.
Your own
wheat.
farm. And it has proved to be... Yeah, you taste it and you see.
It gives much... Oh, well, you'll see.
That's sensational. That's another whole story.
What do you think? With local butter?
I would have been testing it. You can't get any better than that. Organic.
It's nice to hear it. It's really nice to hear it, I must say. You know.
Well, I mean, everything's made here completely.
It is completely. Yep.
I hope it was wood-fired or something. Solar.
No. We state what it is. It was Tasmanian energy.
Oh, that's right. Well, that's hydro. So
That's hydro.
Well, I think that it's fantastic that you guys are so enthusiastic about what you do. Almost quarter of a century since you first started.
Yeah.
I think that's wonderful.
Here,
so,
yes.
Cheers.
Cheers.
To you.
Cheers. Thank you very much. This is absolutely expensive.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Pleasure. A pleasure to have you.
Yes. King Island lies midway between mainland Australia and Tasmania and guards the western entrance to the treacherous Bass Strait. The island's buffeted by the roaring Forties and lies in deep ocean waters. It originally made its name because of the many shipwrecks that lie along its isolated coast. Funnily enough, those shipwrecks are also responsible for today's extraordinary range of dairy products. The locals claim that straw mattresses containing dried grass seeds were swept ashore from the many shipwrecks. And after germinating in the rich island soils, they are responsible for the lush pastures which give King Island milk such a unique flavour. Whatever the truth of the story, there is no doubt that King Island has built a great reputation for its dairy products. We caught up with head cheesemaker Yuli Beger, who was originally trained in Switzerland.
Oh, you're good. Yeah, we're making that's a lighthouse blue today.
It's like getting Holy Communion.
Well, that's quite the important part of, like, it has to be, when you actually bite in it, you nearly feel a skin around it. And that means it's getting close to be ready to hoop. And then it doesn't turn into a mush once you have it in the hoop. It actually leaves nice openings so the glue can go. Yeah, so you can get nice winding.
And this is the really clever bit. The curds are being cut and set upstairs, and then gravity forces them down through a hole in the floor where they're putting the hoops down here. A little less sweet.
But now bouncy, you were saying bouncy, you know?
Yeah, especially now the wire is grind off, it starts really getting bouncy.
So this cheese now, where does it go after this?
From here it goes into a drying room where we control the temperature.
Right.
So if the bacteria go a little bit fast, we can cool it down, or the other way around. If it goes a bit slow, we can keep it up. And so tomorrow morning we should have a very even cheese from day to day because we can control the temperature.
Right. Spores of Penicillium roqueforti blue mould has been added to the milk, and to encourage its growth, holes are punched into the cheese.
It's still quite sour on the very curdy, still like it's not a smooth texture. So over the next few weeks, they will get nice and creamy, a lot stronger, a lot more balanced, you know. On this stage, it's still quite firm and quite sour.
The last step in making Roaring Forties Blue is a bath in hot wax. This is going to be interesting because these are very similar cheeses, as Yuli explained, and I'm very, very critical of wax professionally, but I respect the fact that it actually does fundamentally change the cheese and alters it and brings out a whole different sweet character to it and alters the texture too. And it's very interesting to see. Shall I peel this back?
Yeah, try it. And we can try it, yeah.
Okay, look at that. You can even see how it's a different colour.
We just cut it and try that one as well.
Lovely, thanks. Be a similar age, this?
Would be similar age.
Yep. Quite different taste.
The texture is a lot smoother.
Much smoother.
And it's quite a fruity flavour coming out.
Fruity,
and that's what's happened, like, because you cut the oxygen off, you actually start getting anaerobic bacteria working. So it nearly starts fermenting, and that gives it this sweetness, this fruitiness. And that's where the cheese changes a lot, in the second maturation onto the wax, yeah.
Very interesting how just a little bit of wax and a slight change in the maturation, change the amount of air getting to the cheese, and you've got a different cheese.
That's right, and quite a different cheese. And a lot of people like that because of the little bit the sweet fruitiness in it. They just think it's on the very creamy texture with it. They love that sort of thing, yeah.
Okay, for me, when I think about King Island, I always think about a really creamy milk. There's something about that creaminess, and the double cream is something that is very hard to. Well, I don't think there's anything quite like it anywhere.
No, that's right. And I think we got it actually over here, and we hacked at it a little bit before. And you can see, like, you can dollop it, it sticks. And there's nothing in here. That's just simply cream, you know. That's just as pure as you get it. And look at it.
And that doesn't happen anywhere else without either cooking it down a lot or adding thickeners and gelatine, all sorts of dreadful stuff which we don't want to talk about.
Exactly. There's nothing in there. Yeah, that's incredible. It's just beautiful. I think we have quite a unique sort of a microclimate here on the island because we have the ocean around us. We hardly get the frost, so the grass grows all winter, you know, and it stays green most of the year. I think a lot to do as well is the salt spray we're having. So the cows are actually quite hungry because they seem to get a good dose of salt, you know, and just all together on the grasses we have here just makes it something a little bit special.
Yuli suggested that Tets and I take a look at a typical King Island dairy farm. Is this grass feeding pretty much all year?
Yep, they get grass all the year round. This time of the year when it starts to dry off a little bit, we add a bit of a mineral pellet into the feed, which gives them their minerals and also gives them a bit more feed. Plus also from next month on, we'll put a lot of turnips into the situation right through till, say, June, July.
But that doesn't affect the flavour of the milk at all?
No, if you feed them properly, so that straight after milking in the morning you give them roughly 2 hours of turnips, which is a bit under the 30% of their diet, and it doesn't. And then put them on pasture, it won't taint the milk.
In addition to its famous award-winning cheese and fantastic grass-fed beef, King Island also supports a thriving kelp industry. In Japan, kelp has long been considered a delicacy, but for tonight's dinner, Tetsuya proposed to use a more conventional island food.
Okay guys, this is where we keep the majority of our abalone.
Oh my God.
There we go.
Wow, look at those. What do you reckon, Tex? Wow, beautiful. Look at that. You know, size is one thing about abalone when you cook the abalone.
Nice
you know,
deep ones.
Deep ones.
Yeah.
Thickness. Weight, but no, weight is one thing, but also thick, nice and thick. That's okay. Wow.
They're just really great big sea snails, aren't they?
Yes, they are. They're very active and shows how healthy they are. They're all moving very quickly, trying to turn themselves back over.
So this is all
This is all black lip, British.
Ah, much smaller.
Very small. The black lip can get up to 600 and 700 grams, but we don't see the same sorts of amounts.
Smaller, but look at this.
Yeah.
Yeah, some butter, some garlic. chilli. You can just find these on the rocks on low tide in Ireland?
You can, yeah.
Have you ever done that?
When I was a kid, yes.
Did you have to dive or you just go...
Oh, no, they were, when the tide was way out, you could find them size.
King tide, king low tide. Yeah. Just go out and pick them out from under a rock.
Cook lunch.
King Island boasts some of the finest crayfish and abalone available in Australia, and Tet's grabbed a few for the barbecue.
It's a nice size, that one.
My favourite thing about crayfish. I guess so, yeah.
Well, how about that, Tex? I better go and cook them.
You want to put the carrot, the lobster, me or you?
Tet's begins by carefully extracting the raw crayfish meat and slicing it into small segments.
Nice and sharp. Pepper?
Pepper, preferably white pepper.
Preferably white pepper.
Yeah. Grated lime zest, followed by the lime juice. The flavours are mixed thoroughly. Finely grated fresh ginger.
Just hint of the garlic, just a small amount, okay? Just
okay. Don't chop that, just flick it in.
Okay. Done. Okay. Then mix it again. I want to use that. Okay, just
a splash of Japanese rice vinegar goes in, and that'll help cook it as well, won't it?
Yes.
Along with a generous pour of extra virgin olive oil, and it's mixed through and left to marinate. Tet's then paints a platter with King Island cream.
I think you think.
No, you're not going to do that, are you? Not to that lovely cream.
I just need a colour to this.
Soy sauce, beautiful.
You think kidding, are you?
Well, I am beginning to wonder about you, definitely now. For texture, Tet's adds finely chopped red onions and cucumber. Red onion, yeah. That looks very different.
It's a cream
and tiny shards of lime zest are sprinkled over. It's the moment we've all been waiting for. Okay.
You tell me honest. If you don't like, you can tell.
Texture, 10 out of 10. Flavour, 10 out of 10. Well done, Tets. That's beautiful. It works. That's really good. Who would ever thought of putting soy sauce and cream together? Once cooked, the abalone's shell is removed with the stomach and entrails. The tender abalone meat is then carefully sliced into small cubes. Meanwhile, a sauce is prepared using a small section of the abalone's stomach, along with garlic, dash of mirin and soy, and after heating through, a generous amount of unsalted local butter is added, along with the abalone. After a good stir, a handful of finely cut parsley and a splash of local olive oil are added, and the dish is served with finely sliced spring onions. This is a truly delectable combination and an ideal match for the stunning King Island sunset. Heidi Raclette is one of the most respected artisan cheese names in Tasmania and is made on a small farm near Exton in the north of the state. Originally created in the 1980s by Swiss master cheesemaker Frank Marchand, it is now owned by the same group running King Island and shares the same cheesemaker. Before showing us the tiny dairy, Yuli had arranged a breakfast of hot melted raclette, so we'd have plenty of strength for cheese making. So raclette means to scrape. Careful, Ted, to be hot.
They're hot, man. This is ultimate cheese on toast, really. That's ultimate, not like other, you know.
Yeah, let's have another one.
Right.
Yeah, let me have a go. Yeah.
Very, very tasty.
Whilst you're chewing on that one. Our first task in making the Gruyere was to deliver the fresh blocks of curd to the hoops. And there was no time to waste. Come on, Tets, hurry up! Move it quickly. And here's the last one. Perfect. To make Heidi Gruyere, fresh quality milk is mixed with starters and rennet and allowed to set. After being cut, it is then heated and cooked. The steaming curds and whey are piped into the waiting hoops, where they're encouraged to drain before being pressed overnight. The large young wheels are then placed in a brine bath for 2 days before being moved to the maturation cellars. Here the cheeses are hand rubbed with salt and a brine solution to help form the rind and add flavour. And Tets had one more secret up his sleeve. He removed the rind of the Heidi Gruyere and fried it. Simply served with fruits, this is a quite delicious and simple dish and very unique. I'm not a great fan of flavoured cheese, but I was determined to get Tetsuya's opinion on a local farmhouse cheddar flavoured with wasabi. Apparently, it's proved a big hit in the Japanese export market. But first, Tets offered to show me how wasabi was grown.
Right, Tetsuya and Will.
Thank you.
This is our wasabi crop.
You're going.
Ah, look at this.
So now I've been talking to for a while. This is a wasabi.
Extraordinary.
As you can see, each plant is very, very lush and dense. So the part we're actually interested in is right down here at the bottom of the plant.
Yeah.
So if we just pop one up out of the row here, we'll turn that one on his side. Now this is a little bit different to the way most people grow them. We've got a hydroponic system growing them here. So they're in individual grow bags. But it's this particular part, the base of the stem, that's the bit that gets ground up to give you that hot green paste that everyone's so familiar with.
Yeah, as opposed to the horseradish, which is absolute rubbish.
Well, we
learned that in Japan. I mean, it completely threw me to taste real wasabi for the first time. Because all my life I'd had green horseradish, and then I tried this stuff, and I went, wow, this is completely different. I mean, is it hard to grow?
Look, it is. It requires very precise growing conditions. It evolved in the mountain streams or the edges of the streams in Japan, where it's got access to very high quality, very cool water running for most of the year, and quite dense canopies of the forest.
So shade and moisture, very important.
And low temperature. And so, as we've got in this shade house here, is we've got quite a heavily shaded roof to try and keep it cool as possible. We've got overhead watering and misting systems to try and cool the plants down as well. And then we're using these individual grow bags for each plant where they get fed a special mix of nutrients as well. But at the end of the day, it's the temperature and light are the critical things.
The flavour of fresh wasabi is totally different to the green-coloured horseradish paste that comes in tubes at the local supermarket. And Tetsuya recommends it mixed with butter as an accompaniment to steak. Unsalted butter from Elgaar Farm is beaten and then mixed with finely sliced leaf stems for texture and freshly ground wasabi paste for flavour and heat. To this he adds a dash of mirin and a dash of soy and mixes well. This potent flavoured butter is served on fresh wasabi leaves with steak. Truly mouth-watering. Jane Bennett began making a range of English territorial county cheeses at Ashgrove Farm.
This is the famous Wasabi flavoured cheese. Now, this was something that we began a few years ago with almost, well, not so much as a joke, but as a bit of a very Tasmanian trial thing. And a friend of my dad's, Ian Farquhar, was growing wasabi here in Tasmania. Suggested that I get some on a hot day, having a cool beer. Really great with lager.
You know, actually, if you make tuna salad, nice with it.
Oh, that'll be perfect.
Tuna. And actually, this taste, yeah, can be with soy sauce with the tuna. I don't mind it. I mean, you know, there is a way to consume. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it.
And you see, well, this is why we make lots of different varieties of cheese.
Because
we've all got different taste buds.
Well, I'll sort of humbly creep off and have to accept that this is a huge commercial success, which I think is really wonderful. Wasabi fascinates me, right? And the difference between wasabi and horseradish and that even just learning that fact is always so interesting. And when you've been to Japan and tried the difference, so as I say, putting into cheese, flavoured cheese, it's hard, but I think, you know, commercial reality and the fact that it's popular in Japan, what can I say?
Well, the thing with this is that we're not competitive against the big people with flavoured cheeses, so we've always focused on things that were different. And when we started this, everybody said, never in a million years will anyone buy wasabi flavoured cheese. But we thought it was so quirky, we knew it had an opportunity to go. But it's a great example of how we work with other Tasmanian companies and food producers to come up with lots of new ideas and new and interesting products. This year we're actually going to have to make, for the first time ever, we're going to make over 100 tonne of just cheddar.
Whoa, well, here's to Ashgrove.
Here's that.
Cheers.
And Jay, good to see you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
The pristine natural beauty of Tasmania is unique. The milk produced here is some of the finest in the world, and it's no surprise that chefs like Tetsuya have recognised the exceptional quality of the local produce. I'm convinced that the reputation of artisan farmhouse cheese in Tasmania will continue to grow on the world stage well into the future.
If you find any, put them to one side, but there shouldn't be any.
Cheese slices!
You know,
You're right up, painted. Hey, look at this. Yeah. What do you reckon? Hold it still. Never do this in a cheese factory. Okay? And that's your personal cheese.
Okay.
See all your fingerprints there. Join me and
Flies. Sorry, go again.
you're going to say that. Join me, Will Studge, and my good friend. What's your name? You have a name?
oh, God.